At ngayon namang umaga, mapalad tayo dahil meron tayong makakasamang special guest ngayong umaga. At syempre, pag-uusapan natin ang mangyayaring Great British Festival. This is siguro the first time that we're gonna have something this big. At syempre, exciting. Magandang makikilala ng mga Pilipino ang kultura ng British. Syempre, mula sa Britain. Kaya ngayong umaga makakasama natin si Deputy Ambassador Trevor Lewis mula sa ang British Deputy Ambassador to the Philippines from and UK, United Kingdom, Great Britain and Northern Ireland, sir. Yes, good morning.
That's correct,
Ambassador.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning.
Yes,
good to see you.
So now, maybe we could talk about your stay here in the Philippines. So I understand that you have been the ambassador to the Philippines for 2.5 years now.
Yeah. I ought to stress I'm the deputy ambassador.
Deputy ambassador.
Otherwise, the ambassador might not be happy.
Okay, deputy ambassador. So you've been the deputy ambassador for 2.5 years
yes,
now.
Yes.
Before this, have you been to the Philippines?
Yeah, I came to the Philippines only once before. I was previously our trade commissioner in Kuala Lumpur. So I came over from Kuala Lumpur on a trade visit, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And then when the opportunity of a job came up in Manila, having already been here and had a chance to see the city for myself, I thought, yeah, that's somewhere I'd be very interested in going. And I put my name forward and I was fortunately very successful and got the job.
Yes.
All right. So sir, for the past 2 years as deputy here in the Philippines, how do you find, of course, the culture of the Philippines compared to the culture in Great Britain? So how is it so far?
Well, I mean, I think the one thing I would say about the Philippines is just the levels of energy, which are staggering. I was thinking, I was driving over here this morning, and just the amount of people out and about. And I think they often refer to New York as the city that never sleeps, but I think Manila can give it a good run.
And now, sir, like of course, I'm sure you also miss the culture that you have in Britain, and of course the food. How are you adjusting to the food, the culture, the Filipino people especially?
Well, the Filipino people are very easy to adjust to because they're so warm and so friendly, and that's great to live in a place where you're made to feel so welcome. I think that's really, really good news. The food, I think one of the things about Manila now, of course, is it's becoming such an international city that there's so much variety. So you can have American food, you can have Filipino food, you can have Thai food, you can have Indian food. So everything you want as far as food is concerned is available.
Is available here,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
So aside from you going to the British Embassy and you staying in Makati, what other places in the Philippines have you been to?
Well, I sometimes think I haven't travelled very far, but then when I speak to Filipinos and mention some of the places I've been, they say, wow, you've covered a lot. So I've been to Siki, Sulu, Zamboanga, so quite a few places. Leyte, I was in Leyte fortunately before Yolanda, and I've been down to Tacloban since Yolanda and seen the terrible devastation there. So I think I've travelled pretty extensively around. But even after 2.5 years, I think it's fair to say I haven't seen anywhere near as much of the Philippines as I'd like to. So I need to do a lot more in the next couple of years.
But sir, basing from where you've already been, what would you say was your favorite place, and what was something that spectacular that you've seen in this place that you haven't really experienced in the past from other places that you've been to?
Yeah, well, the one thing I think that really stuck with me was the chocolate hills in Bohol, which is very unique to the Philippines, and that's a really great tourist experience to go there. And again, fortunately I went there before the earthquake. I haven't been since, but the chocolate hills really sort of left quite an impression on me.
Okay.
All right, so sir, now let's talk about, of course, the Great British Festival. What is it about?
Well, this is very much about bringing Britain to the Philippines, but it's also about showing how close our relationship is with the Philippines. The Great Britain-Philippines Friendship Week is in October every year. So last October we started a campaign sort of showing more about what the UK is doing in the Philippines and with the Philippines, and that campaign this weekend, but that won't be the end of it, because I hope it will be a great success, and I'm sure it will be, and we'll take on to another level for next year.
Okay, Deputy Ambassador, now with this Great British Festival, we are trying to introduce the British culture to the Filipino people. So how would you say, what are the similarities of the culture of the Filipino people and of course the British when it comes to like the food and the other aspects that you will be covering in the Great British Festival?
Yeah, well, I guess the most obvious one, to be honest, is the language. The fact that English is so widely spoken here is a great help for us, and it makes us doing our business here much easier. So, so that's a great sort of benefit for us, and makes life much easier, as I say. And in terms of what we're going to do over the weekend, there's a whole range of different things. So I think for viewers, it's safe to say there's something there for everybody. So there's going to be music, British music. There's going to be British film. There's going to be fashion show. There's going to be a whole variety of things. Something, as I say, for everybody. I mean, in terms of what we're trying to do, with a much bigger budget, we'd ideally bring lots more British people over, but we don't have that budget. So what we've tried to do here is merge very much what the UK has got to offer with what the Philippines can offer here. So in terms of the music, for example, and the Philippines is blessed with sort of thousands and thousands of very musicians. So because we can't bring bands over, what we've done is work with local bands like the Bloomfields and Taken by Cars, Blue Rascals, and we're working with them and asking them to put on uniquely British sets of music. So it'll be a Filipino band, Filipino talent, but delivering British music to a Filipino audience. And I think that's a really nice mix of things.
Yes, that's
that
actually
we're
very
trying
interesting.
to do.
So it's just like us trying to cross that, bridge the ties between these two countries as well with their culture.
Absolutely.
But now I would like to ask also about the movies and the education and the business, of course, the business side of this. What do we have in store for this Great British Festival?
Well, there's a business exhibition which will be going on throughout the weekend, and that's got over 20 of the leading British companies already doing business in the Philippines who will be showing their products, their services, and they will be having booths over the weekend so that people can go up and ask them about what they're doing here. And business is crucially important to us. It's one of the things that we're very keen to develop more of with the Philippines. And the best way of attracting more British companies, I think, into the Philippines, and indeed Filipino companies hopefully to invest in the UK, is to show them what British companies are already doing here. Success breeds success. So if we can have very successful British companies here showing how well they're doing in the Philippines and they're enjoying doing business here, then we would hope that will attract more British businesses over here in due course. Education, there's an education presence throughout the weekend, working with the British Council and our Chevening scholars, who are British sponsored scholars who go to the UK under British government scholarships. And they're going to be there to man it, to tell other potential students who we'd love to go to the UK about their own experiences in the UK, how much they enjoyed studying in the UK, hopefully how well they succeeded in their studies, but also how much they enjoyed the UK way of life. And I think in terms of that UK way of life, it's also worth mentioning there are approximately 250,000 Filipinos already living in the UK and thriving in the UK. So in many ways they're our best advert. And of course what's been very positive over the last few months are the fact that there are now direct flights by PAL to London, so it's much easier for Filipinos to visit the UK, and of course for British visitors to come to the Philippines, which is something we're keen to encourage. And one of the other exhibits we'll have, if you like, there, one of the other stands we'll have there is one from our visa section, because I think there's a misconception that it's very difficult to get a visa to the UK, and that's not the case. So anyone who's interested in studying in the UK or visiting the UK can also go to the visa stand, where them detailed information about how to go through the process, and hopefully explain to them actually how easy the process is, because I think many people think it's too difficult, and it's not. We want to welcome good visitors and we want to welcome tourists and students to the UK.
All right, so as we can see, we have a very good lineup of activities for this festival.
Indeed,
so one more important thing that, of course, our bosses or the Filipino people would be looking forward if, of course, there would be job opportunities that would be highlighted. Would there be any
sort of job expo?
Yes.
No, not a job expo as such, but I think things that potentially can lead to jobs, by which I mean obviously one's the education, potential to get a UK education, and the British School is one of our partners here as well, so people who are interested in going to the British School is another opportunity for them to improve their education and therefore improve their chances of getting a job. But I guess the other one is actually the companies who will be present, who are there, many of them very successful, many of them employ lots of people in the Philippines, so it's a chance for anyone who's very bright and very keen to make contact with the companies and see what the companies are doing here, and perhaps also sell themselves a little bit, do a bit of self-marketing.
When it comes to sports, a big sport in the UK would be football, soccer. So how do we introduce this culture now? Actually, this is something that's being adapted already by the Filipinos. ASCALs already, and it's building up a certain following. So is this something that we will be tapping also in the Great British Festival? Yeah,
it's something that we've been very, very keen to push ourselves. The ambassador and Steph Lysett in the embassy, who's been sort of the mastermind behind this particular campaign. They're both big Liverpool fans, and along with me, one of our big sort of personal objectives while we're here is to improve the knowledge of British football. I don't like to call it soccer, it's British football in the Philippines. And we've got two brilliant ambassadors for that, not our ambassadors from the embassy, but the Younghusband brothers, Phil and James, who of course are half British, half Filipino. So they're great sort of assets for us in terms of promoting football and promoting the Chelsea Football School, which they run here. So I think that's a great start. And they will be present during the weekend. They will be doing some football drills. They will be showing people about UK football and how to play football. And I think that'll be a really good advert for UK football and indeed and for the young husbands and for Chelsea. So I think that's a win-win situation for everybody. But I think they've been very successful off the skills they've learned playing football, and I think they can be a really good role models for other young Filipinos growing up who'd like to play football rather than basketball.
All right, so going back, sir, to the education aspect, definitely there would be a lot of Filipinos be interested to pursue their studies abroad, especially in the Great Britain. So what would be the basic process in applying for these institutions to study abroad, aside from, of course, during the Great British Festival?
Yeah, well, they need to speak, obviously, to the experts who are there, and that's why we've got the scholars there who can share their experience. Obviously, people need to start with the relevant level of education already to get into a UK university, so they need to be able to prove that they've already achieved a certain level of education. And some UK universities are already working in the Philippines to develop joint programs, so people should perhaps look at where the joint programs are with people like UP, so they can develop those and get the skills they need to take them across that first hurdle, which is to get into a UK university, and then they can start to apply to UK universities with the skills they've got. We're very welcoming to overseas students. We have lots of overseas students in the UK, and I think people recognise, and I would certainly sort of put forward the strength of the UK education sector to people as something that they should really consider as a strong possibility, because I think it's very well proven that people with good UK educations, when they come back to their home countries, have done very well in business and their chosen professions.
Yes. Sir, earlier you've mentioned that you'll also be having a show, and I think this is for the Filipino people to be aware about the brands that they actually buy and they actually wear, which are really British brands.
Yes. Well, I say one of the things sometimes is that lots of what are British brands are sometimes considered to be American brands, just because I think of the historical links and things. And the fashion show, which is tomorrow night, Friday night, is another prime example, because again, we can't bring over lots of British models, so we have to work with wonderful Filipino models, and I think that'll be great. And they'll be displaying the products from well-known British brands such as TM Lewin, Warehouse, River Island, Marks and Spencers. So there's quite a few people who will be there on display. Speedo is another British brand that's here. So there's quite a range of them, and if people want to come along tomorrow evening and see the fashion show, they'll see their spring and summer 2014 collections, and they will be very, very well displayed, and I think people will be impressed with the models, I'm sure, but I think they'll be impressed also with the products that are available, and hopefully become much more aware that these are in fact British brands.
All right. So, sir, aside from this festival, do we plan to carry out other activities throughout the whole year, or even for the years thereafter?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're always doing things as far as the UK and the Philippines is concerned. Anyway, this is particularly part of campaign, which is a global campaign, so our embassies around the world are working on a global campaign, so we're doing much more around the world on this, but everything that we've seen so far suggests this will be a tremendously successful weekend, and that people will really enjoy themselves, and that's why we're encouraging them to come up to the fort at the weekend, and assuming I'm right and it is a great success, then it's certainly our very strong intention to develop it even further for next year and hopefully turn this into an annual event.
Okay. Deputy Ambassador, one thing about Filipinos is that they're really into their food, and like you've said, in the Philippines you have a good mix of all the types of cuisines here.
Yeah.
For the Filipinos who are interested in the British food, what are they to expect in the Great British Festival? Do we have like booths also serving the different foods from London and the UK?
Yeah, there's a range of different food available, and working with the different food outlets in the fort, we've asked them to specifically put on a British menu. So they'll be offering their normal menus, but on top of that, they've all been asked to put on one or two special British dishes. So it could be fish and chips, it could be roast beef. So they'll try and do that just to give it a little bit more of a British flavor.
Of twist. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, sir, you mentioned a while ago about football, right? We talk about that. So there are some people who are asking if David Beckham would be coming back again. I believe he was here a month ago.
Yeah, well, he's been twice in the last couple of years. I mean, but he's come here with, first of all, with the LA Galaxy, who he was playing for at the time, and more recently he came here on UNICEF business.
Yes.
I'd be delighted if he comes again, but I don't have much control over that, I'm afraid. But he's a great ambassador for the UK and for English football, so I'd be wonderful if he does come back again, but I can't say whether that will be the case or not.
As Deputy Ambassador, I personally am very excited for this event that's going to be coming up this weekend. Maybe you could give us more details about this. Where is it going to be? What time? And then like the schedule of events that you'll be having for the days that for the closing days of the Great British Festival.
Well, I mean, the first event starts tomorrow. There's some sort of drama, street drama, available from 5 o'clock in the fort tomorrow evening, and the grand opening, the ambassador will open it tomorrow evening, and tomorrow it ends up with some live performances on the stage, some film shows as well, and then we'll wrap up tomorrow around 10 o'clock, and then from 10 o'clock on Saturday through till about 10 o'clock on Saturday evening, and from 10 o'clock on Sunday morning through to about 10 o'clock on Sunday evening will be a full programme of events, including football, some wheelchair basketball, some rugby, different things, a miniature, Britain in miniature display, models of Britain where people can their photos taken, the fashion show, and I say lots and lots of music and entertainment, and the live cinema. So there's Harry Potter, Sherlock Holmes, One Direction. The other thing I should stress is all free. So anyone who wants to come along, it's all free, and I think they'll find there's a tremendous amount of different activity there. And as I said before, something for everybody.
Where in the fort is this exactly?
On the High Street, Fort Bonifacio High Street, yeah. Okay. But it's all down the High Street, so it's all within 200 to 300 metres of each different event, but different bits at different parts of the High Street. But I say all very close together and plenty of action and activity.
Okay.
All right, sir. So as we end this interview, please invite the Filipino people to participate in this festival.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think it's as simple as that. It's going to be a wonderful weekend. Please come along to Bonifacio Global City, to the High Street, join the British Festival and really have a great time. There's something there for all of you. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Thank you for your time this morning. That was Deputy Ambassador Trevor Lewis, British Deputy Ambassador to the Philippines. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you there also. I am very interested with what we've talked about, and I want to know also more about the British culture, and I'm sure all of our bosses that are watching also this morning are going to be interested, and we'll be seeing you there. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Ayan, Sandro, may dahilan na naman tayo para pumuntang Fort ngayong weekend. Para syempre dito sa Great British Festival. At syempre marami